Hello and welcome to the Browns Blitz. Today is what, Tuesday? Gosh, guys, I'm having a heck of a
Right.
time because we never record on Tuesdays. So
Right?
today's Tuesday, July the 1st. You believe the year's half over already.
Yeah.
That's
July the
right.
1st. This is episode number 302. I'm your host, Rod Bloom, and joining me is my brother, Jeff,
Hey,
up
Rod.
in one of the corners.
Yeah.
How's it going, Jeff?
Going good.
Good. And our guest tonight is Matt Norris. You can find him at Norris Deluxe 10. And Matt is just a super patient guy because Matt was on the podcast back in 2019 when the podcast was pretty darn new at that point. And I thought I had him back on, and I guess I never did. So I kind of look like a jerk right now. But but I remember having him on. I remember, Matt was, a great guest and everything. And I'm thinking, surely I've had him on. And nope, nope. So Matt, we're glad you could join us tonight. It's good to have you back on the show.
Yeah, I'm glad to be back, guys. I've been looking forward to it for 6 years, So
Just sitting around waiting
yeah,
for the phone to
yeah, just
ring, for the DM to come in.
yeah. I sit in front of this blank wall, just waiting.
Yeah, yeah.
No,
Well,
thanks for having me on, guys, and congratulations for your 300th episode. I caught that about a week and a half ago, something
yeah,
like
Yeah.
that.
yeah.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
So congratulations on that. It's quite the accomplishment.
thank you. Thank you. You were probably on show number what, like 15 or 20 or something.
It was pretty early. I was right after Jarvis, Tank Courtney. That was way
Wow.
back in the day.
Yeah.
A
Wow.
whole lifetime ago for a Browns
Mm.
fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, we're really glad to have you back on the podcast, and we're gonna start tonight like we always do. If I can find my stuff here, guys, we know that this is still a new platform we're using, so we're gonna switch to our Blitz beverages and talk about what we're drinking tonight. And Matt, you're the guest. You get to go first and tell us about what you have in front of you there.
All right. Well, I tonight I chose to go with the rye whiskey. I since we moved to North Dakota, there's not a super great like beer selection. It's kind of hard to find anything that's real good or exciting. So I've gotten more into whiskey, and so tonight I'm drinking a Midwinter Nights Dram,
Yeah.
and that's a blended rye whiskey from Utah, actually, I believe. Yeah, Park City, Utah. So this is a very special one. I'm not usually a huge rye fan. I'm usually more of a bourbon drinker or Scotch, but this rye is really tasty. So it's been the one in a million that I really do enjoy. So I decided to get that out for this special occasion tonight. So cheers.
Excellent.
Straight up
Cheers.
like a hard ass. I love it.
Yeah,
Man.
neat. No water, no ice, no nothing. Just
Very
rye
nice.
whiskey.
Yeah. Yeah. So
You have a
Jeff,
six
what do
shooter on your belt.
yeah.
Gotcha.
Nice.
Absolutely.
No, nothing exciting, Rod. I just in the fridge I grabbed the first thing I came to, and I actually had talked about this a couple weeks ago. So it's the Athletic Free Wave Hazy IPA. So I think you can probably see that pretty well there.
Yeah.
NA. Um, just a nice, fairly unflavored IPA.
Yeah. Yeah, their cans are really simple, but they kind of stand out. So
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
very cool. All right. Well, I got another one out of the latest variety pack from the mail, and this is the same brewery that I had on the last show. The what is it? The uh, Brothers Brewing Company. So this is Ghost Colada. It's a pineapple coconut sour.
Nice.
They like colorful cans at this brewery. If you remember what I
Wow.
mentioned.
That's
So
Yeah, that's
eye-catching.
it looks foo-foo, guys. I mean, it is a sour, but it's eh, some sours are a little too much for me. This is pretty good. I mean, I taste the pineapple. The coconut doesn't really stand out as much as pineapple. I guess probably just two flavors, but it's definitely interesting. So
Nice.
good.
Yeah, it looks like
All
a
right.
60s
Cheers, guys.
psychedelic.
It is
Cheers.
psychedelic. Yeah. Cheers. All right, guys. So there's I guess there's been a little Browns news going on here lately. Um, we didn't really talk much Browns on the last show as far as Browns news
Mhm.
because we were talking about Marion Motley and
Well,
you know, very specific about that. So we didn't get into the one bit of news that happened shortly before we recorded last week, and that was the cut of Ogbo Okoronkwo. And
Easy for you to say.
yeah, yeah. I've heard
Have
some
a
other
couple
people
more
say it
drinks and then
recently,
say
guys.
it.
I've heard some other people say it, so yeah. I'm still not sure I got it right, but anyways.
Yeah,
So
close enough.
yeah, and Jeff, I think I mean you predicted this a long time ago on the show. You know, I think
Yeah.
before I ever
Yeah.
really thought about it, but
Yeah.
not a surprise. They were pretty stacked, pretty heavy in the defensive end
Yeah.
room specifically, and good way to, I guess, free up some cap and give him a
Right.
chance to catch on with somebody else. So
Right.
So
And
just,
it sounds. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say on the contract side, the cap savings was 3.3.
Yeah.
Dead money just under 2 million. And coincidentally, the guarantee for Joe Tryon-Shoyinka is 3.5. So that's just about a wash.
Yeah.
You know, so you kind of figured that when they brought him in that was the plan, right? And then they've also got Julian Okwara on a veteran minimum deal, who's in case of an emergency, he's the depth piece.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And I think what they did is, you call it a wash, but I think they got younger. And as much as nobody has anything bad to say about Obo, he was a great locker room guy. He went out there and played hard. Even injured and came back and played. When he obviously didn't have to. So he's a guy that you like in your locker room. But we got younger, and it's like you said, it was something that I think a lot of us saw coming, whether we wanted to acknowledge it or not. But yeah, I think that was kind of the move.
yeah. I mean, he played well as the designated pass rusher here.
Right.
But, I just think it was something that was going to happen. So it's more fair to him to do it now than,
Right.
than when than sometime in camp or when cuts are making and there are a bunch of other guys out there looking for jobs too. So
Yeah.
good luck to him. No
Yeah.
hard feelings.
Yeah,
He
of course.
played a nice role.
Yeah, I wish him the best.
Absolutely. Yeah. So guys, I am because Jeff, you brought this up. How many guys were on 1-year deals?
Yeah.
Essentially this year, they're on their prove it year, essentially. Not
Yeah.
necessarily on a 1-year deal, but guys on 1-year deals are in the last year of their contract. So
Right.
I just looked at the defensive line guys, and very interesting. For the defensive ends, you know how many guys, and I'm counting everybody, how many guys are not in their contract year this year? as far as defensive ends. I'm counting 9 guys as defensive ends. Some of those guys I'm sure are on futures,
Yeah,
contracts and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd be
You've got
guessing.
you've got Miles and Malik Collins is on a 2-year deal, I believe. But that just may be a void year. And I think it's a 2-year deal. And then you've got the 2 rookies, or 2 guys on rookie deals. So I would say probably the rest of them are 1-year deals, right?
Yeah, Malik Collins, Mike Hall. Yeah, the only other guys are I guess these guys are probably on futures contracts. Aiden Huntington and Ralph Holly. Those guys
Yeah.
are, through 27, but those are I think futures contracts.
Right.
Everybody
Right.
else is, yeah, that's it. Yeah, so you got pretty much everybody at defensive end other than Miles and Isaiah McGuire, who is
Oh, I forgot he's
signed
still on a
through
rookie deal.
26. What's that?
Yeah. I forgot about him being on a rookie deal still, or
Isaiah
a draft
McGuire.
choice deal. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
he's got 2 years.
Right. Yeah.
Everybody else, they're essentially on a 1-year contract right now, or last year of their contract.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and defensive tackle, yeah, Shelby Harris and Joanne Briggs are the guys who are signed through this season. But
Right.
Joanne Briggs would be an exclusive rights free agent. Could be after this year. We'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, that's interesting. So you got a lot of guys, with a lot on the line this year, and a chance to, maybe get a contract.
Yeah.
Browns, or somebody else, and this kind of morphs into my next topic, which was how ridiculous the headlines are about the mock drafts that are going on for the 26th draft, and everybody has the Browns taking a quarterback.
Give Browns fans 2 first-round picks in the next draft, and they're already skipping the season. It's just it never fails.
Yeah, let's just
fast forward to next April.
No, they're like root against the Jaguars and then start mock drafting right away.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it is very early, but I mean, we obviously have no idea what's going to happen with the quarterbacks. I like having those picks and the Browns in their back pocket. Hopefully the Browns see enough to be able to make a decision or have some kind of idea whether they have a guy that could be the future on the team right now. So they know what to do with these 2 picks. But,
yeah, because you get one of the rookies just shines this year. I mean, just comes out and plays great all year. I mean, they're going to be rookies. I get it, but they have a good campaign. They get out there, they get the reps. They look good, at least good enough. And you go into next year with 2 first-round picks, both could be fairly high. I mean, I like that position. I mean, boy, you really got to dream, for that if it all works out that way. So, this would be the year. That'd be incredible.
Yeah, and I don't want to get into the 26th draft, but everybody knows I'm not a draft guru. I haven't had as much time to follow it lately. The past few years, done the best I could, but just depending on what's going on. But I've actually had a little bit more time in the car now, some time to listen to some podcasts and things like that. So I do know that this 26th draft is going to have some good defensive linemen. I don't want to talk about any of the guys. It's way too early for that stuff. But it would just be so nice if the Browns had 2 first-round picks to be able to use on key positions other than quarterback.
Offensive linemen. I mean,
Offensive line.
they're really we're getting older and older, and Bill Callahan's not coming back. You know, we're going to need to get younger on the line.
Yeah, I don't want to jump too far ahead, but I'll be real disappointed if the Browns come out of next year's draft with 2 linemen. We need some skill players on this team, and
Oh, definitely.
I mean,
Yeah.
you can draw all kinds of comparisons, right? But the reality is that we still need to score points, and this team needs some weapons. So yeah, if we're not taking a quarterback, man, I hope we're taking somebody that can help us put points on the board. I love getting stronger in the trenches, but God, at some point we gotta score points.
Yeah. I get that. It's yeah. I mean, you're not wrong for sure. And you know, we do need somebody to get people off Jerry Jeudy if he's going to be number 1, or somebody who can be number 1 and let Jerry Jeudy work as
Right.
you know, as a number 2, and you know that would be huge. You know.
Yeah.
I'm still a little surprised that there hasn't been anything else done at wide receiver, and maybe there still will be.
Yeah.
Because it's not only that the Browns need help at wide receiver, it's that I think you want to know that you have some guys out there who can catch the ball just to help you evaluate these quarterbacks. I mean, you can watch how they throw the ball and stuff if it's bouncing off a guy.
Yeah.
It's going to help you more to see their numbers if they're throwing to a little bit, better quality in your number 2, 3, 4 receivers, or however.
Yeah,
often
for
they're
sure.
on the field.
It's hard to evaluate young quarterbacks in a crappy offense.
It does.
Yeah. And let's not just forget that our rivals over in Pittsburgh just got a new cornerback, and their secondary looks pretty nice. They got that kid from Penn State that was a rookie last year, and they got Jalen Ramsey. And,
Well, they traded
good,
one old guy for another, right?
good riddance to Minkah Fitzpatrick. But
Right. Pittsburgh
I'm not
has a
gonna
way of
cry
adding
over
key
him being out
pieces.
of the-
Yeah,
I'm
they're-
not gonna cry over him being out of the division.
yeah, sure. Their corners are going to be nice, though. They got a good secondary going.
Yeah. I think your point early on, though, Rod, was let's not look past this season, right? There's a lot of things we're going to be able to do to build this team in the future, but what are we doing to win games now and in the near future? So that goes to adding another weapon at wide receiver, figuring out the quarterback question, trying to put together a reputable, effective offense by running the ball with the 2 new running backs, expanding the use of the tight end. So many things that we're looking forward to happening this year that will set us up for success in the future. Hopefully those things lead to some wins this year too, and then we're not picking twice in the top 10. I'd be okay with that if it meant that we had a decent offense this year.
Yeah, we can't do last year again. It was unwatchable for most of the year.
Yeah, absolutely horrible.
That's true. And I had a note written down, and I guess it's how you look at it. But I have, it's walking the quarterback tightrope, which is, figuring out who to play, when to play them, because I really think you need to play, both of the rookies enough to see what you have in them this season.
Mm-hmm.
But you also want to get wins, some wins at least, for guys' jobs,
right? And professional pride. I mean,
it's not just for jobs; it's for pride, and it's to get people believing, thinking about positively about the organization again.
Yeah, we
So-
almost lost Miles because we were so bad. I mean, he just has always glowed about Cleveland, and then was just like, you know what, I can't be here, and that's sad. That's sad for us, especially as
Yeah.
fans for who've been fans as long as we have. I've been a fan for almost 40 years. That's that's not something I'm just going to throw away. But you hate to see your franchise makers, these guys who their numbers are going to be hanging in the Raptors, and they're like, oh, I got to go somewhere where I can win, and that's so disappointing.
Right.
Right.
So Matt, we've Jeff and I have talked about this, of how we think the quarterback play should go and all this. What's your thought as to what the Browns should do over the course of this season? With the quarterbacks they have on the roster and the picks they have coming up next season, how would you? I mean, what would be ideal for you? How to attack the situation?
Yeah, I mean, ideal. It's hard to say. Oh, ideally, yeah. Shedeur Sanders just blows everybody away in fall camp, and starts game one and runs rush shot through the season. Yeah, that'd be wonderful. That'd be wonderful. But realistically, I think. And I was listening to I apologize because I can't remember whose podcast it was, but they were talking about how they would handle the quarterback situation through the season, and they were like, dump Kenny Pickett. They were biased against him for of course, but
Right.
they were like, dump Kenny Pickett, go in with 3 quarterbacks, you get Joe Flacco, because our first all the way up through the bye is a gauntlet. We have an absolute gauntlet. Our schedule is not in our favor in the first. We go to London in like week 5 or whatever, and
Tough.
Yeah.
and then come back from London and play that weekend. We don't even get our bye after that travel. So it's like, we play a gauntlet. So they're like, let Joe Flacco push us through that first and through the bye week, and then by then you should have a pretty good idea between Sanders or Gabriel which one is picking it up, which one looks like they could be the guy, and then you start rolling with them. And I don't think that's a horrible idea. I mean, we lived through the Tim Couch era. I mean, that guy, there was no reason that guy should have been where he was. I feel so bad for him. He had no support. He had no protection. He had nothing. They just threw him out there.
Right.
So there's always a part of me that says, you don't want to take a rookie quarterback and just, good luck and, throw him out there. But
Week 1, yeah.
Yeah, it's not like Jaden Daniels playing for the Redskins, right? I mean, or excuse me, the Commanders. I mean, they were prepared for a rookie quarterback. We're not.
Yeah, the team around him was great. I work with a Commanders fan, so I hear all about every week. Oh, did you see us? We were incredible, and I'm like, yeah, you guys. The formula for a rookie quarterback is that. That's the kind of formula. And, the problem is most rookie quarterbacks that come in, they're 1 or 2 picks because the team that was drafting 1 or 2 is really bad. So,
Right.
you can't put a rookie out there foundationless. I mean, and so I think that's why I like the Joe Flacco transition. He already knows the offense. He can allow what is actually a decent roster. The Browns have a good roster. I mean, you look at the new Madden game, they're like the 5th best team overall wise, because they have talent all over the field. Even when we're like, oh, the wide receivers, we don't know what we're going to do. I mean, we've got talent. We've got Njoku. We've got that new Fannin, that tight end who's going to be. I mean, he's looked incredible, and I think Jerry Jeudy is a legitimate wide receiving option. Maybe he's not your number 1 all time wide receiver, but he showed last year that he's good enough to be a number 1 in this offense if we can generate consistent offense.
Right.
So
that's the key.
Yeah. So Joe Flacco gives everybody else an opportunity to play the way they feel like they should play. Veterans don't want to slow down. Well, rookie quarterbacks learn the game around them. You know, they want to be able to go full bore. So I think you sprinkle their practice reps in, you get through the bye week, and then you start trying to make a decision. You might have to make a tough decision, you know, and Browns fans are never going to like any decision he makes. So, you know, you can't worry about that. But, you know, that's the way I see kind of the best way for it to shake out. That's kind of a realistic option for us.
Yeah. So Jeff, do you think it's important to see both Sanders and Gabriel play this year if one of them ends up playing well?
No, I don't think we have to see them just for the sake of seeing them. I think they have to earn their playing time. So if one of them is clearly the best quarterback that week, then that's when we should see them. If Shedeur Sanders doesn't get his head screwed on straight and never moves up the depth chart, we may not see him at all, and that's fine. We lost a 5th round pick, right? But if he surprises everybody, like Matt said, then we're thrilled. You know that hey, we found a franchise quarterback in the 1st round. That would be awesome. Dylan Gabriel, I'm not convinced that we need to know anything more about. I think we know what he is and what his role will likely be on this team. I think he'll have plenty of opportunities to prove me wrong, but I don't foresee us finding out that he's got a much higher ceiling than anybody thought. But we talked about that was why we picked 2 different kinds of quarterbacks, right? Rod, was, you know, we wanted the guy with a high floor, we wanted a guy with a high ceiling. I think we got him, right? So Dylan Gabriel can earn his spot on this team just by being a really solid backup and be with the team for many years. So I don't know that you need to prove that on the field. Shedeur's the guy that we need to know whether we hit a home run with or we struck out. It's all or nothing with him.
Yeah, it's like a contact hitter versus a big swing.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I agree with you, Jeff, as far as not needing to see Dylan Gabriel play necessarily. I mean, the guy's played a ton of football, first of all. You know, there's a lot of film out there. You know, I think his game would translate to the NFL somewhat, at least, you know, no matter what.
It translates up here. I think that's where he's got the advantage, is that he's played in 3 different systems and he's played a lot of football. You know, he apparently his reading, his visual reading of defense is off the charts. So, you know, that's what Stefanski loved about him, apparently. So, you know, being 6 foot or under 6 foot in the NFL, DeJuan Jones is what, 6'9", 6'10", something like that.
Yeah.
You can't see the flats. How are you going to hit your flats when DeJuan Jones is in your way? You know, and
I agree with you there. The thing that I'm not so sure about is I'm not so sure that the Browns see him as a high floor, low ceiling guy, though. You know, taking him when they took him and saying that they had him in front of all these other quarterbacks. You don't know if they're blowing smoke. Who knows? You know, maybe they thought he could be the long-term backup. Maybe they really thought this guy could start in the league. That's what I don't know. That's what I think we'll be able to see as the season goes on, because if Sanders looks good and looks, you know, in practices and in preseason games, and Gabriel, you know, looks like you'd expect him to, decent in that, and they still go to Gabriel first during the season, then they're kind of following what they said during the draft versus just, you know, thinking this is our backup. We got to find out what we have in Sanders because he could be the real deal.
All that would tell me, Rod, is that Sanders just isn't ready yet.
Well, that
Yeah,
too.
and that could be. Yep. And as a Buckeyes fan, and what you'll probably hear from a lot of Buckeyes fans when it comes to Dylan Gabriel is that we played him twice last year, and I saw two completely different quarterbacks. I saw one that thrived when everything was going right, and I saw
Yeah.
one that fell completely apart when it got tough. And
Yeah.
that's scary as somebody who's watched a lot of Browns football. If
Yeah,
you can't keep
true.
your composure, if you can't make plays when everything's on fire around you, oh man, what are you going to do? That's the NFL. That's not even just Browns football. That's the NFL. So
That's a good point because yeah, when that Oregon team was going good, I mean, yeah, he looks like just like a tactician out there.
and he was the engine who drove it.
Ripping teams apart.
He gets credit for that. Absolutely. No, he did drive that Oregon offense, but man, we sacked him over and over and over, and he just looked lost. And it was like, does not look like a guy who's played 5 years of football. He had nothing.
Well, on that note,
Yeah.
I am so anxious to see the preseason, almost just to see the time split between who they even throw out there and stuff. I mean, the rookies are going to play quite a bit in the preseason, but
Yeah.
it's going to be fun to watch them. So
yeah, so I would be shocked if Joe Flacco plays a single down in preseason.
Yeah,
absolutely floored if he did. So that's plenty of in-game reps for the other guys. Pickett, I mean, we haven't even talked about him, honestly. I don't have a lot of opinions one way or the other on him. He's exactly who I thought he was when he came out in the draft, and if I look unimpressed, then yeah, that's about it.
The thing with Pickett is, what do? You play him? You see, if he's good, are you signing him to a big extension? You got two rookies on the team.
Or you make him trade bait. I don't know.
Yeah.
Get your 5th round pick back or whatever.
This is why the brain trust gets paid big bucks, is to make a decision like that. Because I mean, to me, you almost just want to see if you can get a 5th rounder, 6th rounder for him now and be done, and just play the rookies in the preseason, and play it like you said, Flacco, and then one or the other of the rookies or both, and see what happens.
Yeah, I think you wait for them to stand out, one of them to pull ahead, and if they don't, then I mean you're, I guess, stuck with Flacco. I mean, I don't know, and then you start planning for the draft. It's really, I mean, it's exciting, but it's also there's that anxiety about oh, here we go again. We got these other guys. Add them to the jersey.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing about having a lot of question marks is the plan is going to have to evolve as the season unfolds.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what happened with the offseason, that the Kenny Pickett move happened first.
Right.
And then some other things evolved as the offseason unfolded, right? So it's going to be the same way during the regular season. And I expect us to play 4 quarterbacks anyway. So if it's Pickett, if it's Deshaun Watson, who cares? Eventually we're going to figure out that we have a quarterback for next year who can start, or we have a solid backup for next year and we need to go find a starting quarterback. And either way, this season wasn't a lost cause at quarterback. At least if we developed a decent offense and gave ourselves a chance to win from week to week.
Well, yeah, and the thing is, here's what we're always thinking. Okay, we get Brady Quinn, we get Johnny Football. And these are all 1st round picks, and it always feels like such a waste. But here, we didn't take a 1st round quarterback. You know,
Right.
we went out, we got that extra pick, we got Mason Graham, we got that linebacker who obviously, you know, at the time I was like, what are we doing? And then we hear JOK's going to be out all year again, and you know, we're starting to thin out at linebacker again. And it's like, okay, so this starts to make sense. And so you give up on somebody like Abdul Carter, or you give up on, you know, the kid from Colorado, and so you get. I mean, Jim Swartz has got to be just, you know, jumping out of his pants getting Mason Graham, because look at that guy. You know, that's his kind of guy right in the middle of that defense. He's a guy who gets pressure from the middle, and then he has his guys on the outside. You know, and it's got to be a dream come true. So all that works out in our favor, and still we're like, oh, but Shadur, you know, oh, but we took Dylan Gabriel. What were you doing? But you know, I know draft night I was a little I was a little upset too, because I was like, what is Dylan Gabriel? What are we doing? You know?
Yeah.
And then when you step back and look at the forest for the trees, it's like, well, if you take Shador Sanders in the third, you're rejoicing, you know, and you take, you know, everybody's saying we need to get 2 quarterbacks in this draft anyway. You take Dylan Gabriel in the 5th, where we took Sanders, and everybody's smiling, you know, and it's like,
nope, nobody would have thought twice about it.
not at all. And so we always find a way to be upset about, you know, what are they doing? What's Barry doing? You know what? And they make these moves, and it's like, all right, well, you know, they can only make these moves, and then these guys have to, you know, they have to get on the field and you know, realize their potential. So that, you know, he can't do that for them. But you know, I think they did a good job in the draft. If you step back, take a deep breath, and kind of look overall at what you picked up, and I think that pick's huge. I mean, unless Jacksonville comes out of nowhere and just, you know, just runs through the whole NFL somehow, you know, I think we'll be drafting. I think their pick will be probably in top 10. I wouldn't be surprised at all. So, you know, even if we do go to win a couple games and don't end up with a top 10 draft pick, I think we still will end up drafting in the top 10. And
we talked a lot about this year's draft, Rod, real quick. This year's draft was, you know, a few players at the very top and not so much in the next tier, right? Next year, there's a lot more depth to those higher picks. So I do feel really good. Even if we're picking down into the 20s, I feel really good about us getting a quality player.
Yeah. Or if we need,
we're going to take a quick break. Hold that thought, Matt, and we'll be right back with more of the Browns Blitz. And we're back with Matt Norris and the Browns Blitz here on the Fanatical Elves Network. You guys are still talking about quarterback and things like that. Matt, you had a thought. Do you want to continue with that?
Yeah, and what we were talking about was, you know, if that Jacksonville pick, and even if we win a few games and drop down, you know, if there's a guy, you know, if we're like, hey, and this is the whole, you know, if one of our quarterbacks can separate himself from the pack and make us really confident in him, you take both those picks and combine them for a trade to get somebody, you know, then we can be the ones who jump up to 2 and grab that guy, that unicorn. You know, if there is a guy like that really, you know, puts a decent team over the top. So, I mean, even if these picks, you know, even if Jacksonville has a decent year and we win a few games and, you know, fall out of the top 10, there's still that chance that we can, you know, really put it together and, you know, use that draft capital to move up and get a guy that we need that puts us over the top if we get there. So it's the way the draft worked out was great. I really thought it was good for us.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to have what feels like a good draft class and still have that first rounder in your back pocket for next year. Definitely. So, Jeff, is this a good time to do your segment?
Yeah, we can do the brain boost.
All right. Let's go to the Browns brain boost.
So I'll just tee this up by saying that a few weeks ago, we spoke about some of the all-time greats by position with the Browns, quarterbacks, running backs, etc., wide receivers. I've seen quite a few articles since then, people putting out their top 10 greatest Browns players all time.
Mhm.
I just thought I'd look at this a little different. I found an article that Bill Livingston wrote back in September of 2015. So the Browns had only been around like 16 seasons.
Yeah.
So his article was the 10 worst Browns players since 1999. And it was kind of fun to read that article, and I won't spoil it because there's a lot of good stuff in there. I would encourage people to go out and read that article because I think it's one of the better things that Bill Livingston put together. There's some funny stuff in there about some of these guys, but I wanted to put his guys up first, and then I'm going to give you my top 10, and I'll let you guys chime in based on what.
I better see Dwayne Bowe up there.
You ready to put it up, Jeff?
Could be. All right. Let me see if I can. Okay, sorry, still getting used to Riverside here. Pulling up my graphic. Can you guys see the 10 worst players since 1999?
Oh, Devon Best. I forgot about that guy.
All right, so yeah. So obviously Bill Livingston was looking at a lot of draft picks here.
Yeah.
I think 8 out of 10 of these guys are first round picks that the Browns, in a lot of people's opinion, blew between 99 and 2015. Most of them early on. I just want to run down through this real quick, see if you guys agree or disagree with any of these as of 2015, right? So Trent Richardson was obviously a massive disappointment.
I talked myself into that pick. I talked myself into it.
Yeah,
oh,
I mean,
yeah.
when you take a running back third overall,
yeah.
I mean he better be lights out, and it
better be Nick Chubb.
Well, yeah, I mean it goes to show how that position has been devalued since then, right? That wow, what were we doing taking a running back with the third pick, right? But the Browns did a good job of flipping him for a draft pick, which I think turned into Denzel Ward, didn't it? If I remember correctly.
That was to the Colts, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it was. It might have been Denzel.
Yeah, I couldn't believe we robbed those guys because I can't believe.
Yeah.
I can't believe
so,
that.
Because Trent Richardson in Cleveland was exactly what he was in Indianapolis, and yeah, we shouldn't have gotten anything for him. So I would find it hard to argue in this list of the top 10, Bill Livingston's top 10 at the time, that he was in fact the worst player. I mean, and that's, I'm framing it from this perspective that it has to be a guy with fairly high expectations, right? It's not a guy who a UDFA or a day 3 pick or something. Somebody with fairly high expectations that just really never even came close to meeting them. And I think Trent Richardson is there. He's got to be the worst on this list, right?
Yeah, I can't top that one.
Yeah, I mean the rest of them are guys who actually I think contributed a little bit to the Browns.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them were a long shot, like Brandon Weeden was a long shot to begin with.
Right.
Josh Gordon was a supplemental draft pick. We knew he had some baggage when he came out. Other of these, the rest of these guys had their moments, right? Devon Best was, he had some issues off the field that contributed to what happened there. But mostly his story was that he was basically washed up at 28. He had a decent career before he came here, and we just never saw anything from him, right? So that happens with free agents sometimes, and it's
Right.
kind of a cautionary tale against signing guys who are closing in on 30 or the wrong side of 30, right? So
Sure.
anyway,
Yeah.
I don't have any real argument with any of this list. I just thought it's interesting to sort of have a frame of reference about where the team was in 2015. This is obviously before the Hugh Jackson years. So
Yeah.
Livingston didn't know what was about to hit us. So so we had a lot of candidates between 2016 and 2024. I actually wrote down 20 names, and I had a hard time parsing it down to 10. But I mean, a lot of whiffs in the draft, a lot of whiffs in free agency since then. And again, to be fair to some of these guys, there were times that we were trying to win, and there were times we weren't trying to win. So take that as you may. So anyway, with all that said, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next page, hopefully. Oh boy. Not letting me move to the next page. All right, we're going to try something else here.
Yeah, you should be able to hide and go back in and pull the other page up. This is not a podcast about internet technology, folks.
Oh no.
Best laid plans.
Yeah. There's a reason why we did an audio podcast for 5 minutes.
Right. Right. All right, let's try this again now. Let me see if I can share a presentation. Oh my, this is pretty sad.
Not coming up.
Yeah, so I guess I'm just going to have to walk you guys through this.
Okay.
All right, let's hear it.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I can't make it work, which doesn't surprise me at all. Yeah, just how things have gone with this new streaming service. So anyway, I had this nice PowerPoint all put together that I spent most of the day putting together that looks really sharp. So take my word for it.
In my
number 10.
imagination, it looks great.
Yeah,
really
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
I
It looks
love it.
really cool.
Knock
right?
me out.
So I'm going to run you through the top 10, and then I'll put up the last page that summarizes it all. Number 10, per your request, Matt, Dwayne Bowe. I couldn't come up with a better 10th guy. Even though Dwayne Bowe, as I mentioned, had a lot of the same characteristics as Devon Bess. He actually had over 7,000 yards receiving with the Chiefs before he came here.
Yeah.
We probably don't. Well, not many people remember that, right? But he was a pretty well-established player. The problem was he was washed at 30. He just had nothing left in the tank, right? So yeah, and then just didn't show up. So that's what happens. Like I said, when you sign guys at that age, you think you're going to get him at his 26-year-old skill level, but you don't. So cautionary tale for guys like wanting us to bring back Amari Cooper.
Right.
Number 9, Cam Irving. Cam Irving, and you, Rod, you probably remember when we were watching the 2015 draft, this 10 years ago. This was the draft where we took two guys on the line in the middle of the first round, and we said, "Oh, this is great. You know, we're building a foundation. We're going to have these great lines, right?" So we took Cam Irving at pick number 19, and then we took Danny Shelton at pick number 12. Vice versa. Actually, we took Shelton, then we took Irving. So those are my number. What?
Building through the trenches.
Building through the trenches, right? So those are my number 9 and 8 guys. Cam Irving turned into a journeyman offensive lineman. He played 1 year at tackle. They moved him to center. He was so bad at tackle. And then he played for 5 teams. And Danny Shelton gave us a grand total of 1.5 sacks in 3 years. He was a D tackle, much in the lines of Sayaki Ika. So he was basically Sayaki Ika before Sayaki Ika was Sayaki Ika. Say that fast 3 times.
We kind of wanted a big Phil Taylor. You know, we wanted a big people mover right in the middle that was going to, you know, take up 3 blockers and
that just never seems to happen, does it?
Nope.
So okay. I mean, those 2 guys were high picks. Never really amounted to anything.
Not so much.
Believe it or not, there's 7 candidates worse than them. I'm going to go to number 6 and 7. I'm going to do these 2 together because they're basically the same player. Number 7, I've got Juan Thornhill. These are high dollar free agent signees, right? Played for the Browns for 2 years, 0 interceptions. Quit on a few plays.
0 difference made.
Zero difference made. Correct.
Wouldn't even know he was here. And not only that, he's had a big mouth since he's left town too.
Yeah.
Right. And then number 6, I've got John Johnson the third. He actually had 4 interceptions in his 2 years here, but he quit on more plays than Thornhill did. So I moved him up to number 6. You could probably flip those 2 guys either way.
Signing though, probably too. I mean, at the time,
it was a 4-year deal, I think, and Thornhill was only 3. So Andrew Berry is slowly learning his lesson about giving a bunch of money to safeties. So number 5, quarterback. The next couple are quarterbacks. You guys got any guesses?
Oh man, that's a long list.
There's a lot of quarterbacks, right? But think about guys with big reps.
Yeah, Johnny Football comes first to mind. He's always my huge quarterback disappointment.
I'm going to get to Johnny Football, but I've got RG3 at number 5. RG3. So he was coming off of a pretty devastating injury. You guys probably remember. But he had some pretty good luck in Washington. He played pretty well. And so the Browns thought, well, you know, there's a good chance this guy's going to bounce back off of this injury, and we're going to find our starting quarterback, right? Our franchise quarterback.
Could have figured out how to slide.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, he played through it and basically tore himself up. He was signed in the spring of 16, and by September 12th of 16, he was on IR. And that pretty much tells you everything you need to know about RG3's time here in Cleveland. So a guy who, you know, had big expectations. So I think Browns fans would have been thrilled if we would have drafted him 3 or 4 years sooner as our starting quarterback, right? And maybe, who knows, maybe he would have had a longer career with us, or maybe he would have gotten killed sooner. So number 4, Johnny Manziel, Johnny Football. I love the stats on Johnny Football. He came in saying he was going to wreck the league. He had 8 starts in 2 years. He threw 7 touchdowns and 7 interceptions, and he threw hundreds of parties. He was Mr. Fun and Games until game day, and for the 22nd pick in the 2014 draft, man, the myth was greater than the fact.
I hated that pick from the beginning. I Could not stand it. I was so mad that we took him. And I'll tell you what,
Damn,
he
22nd
he
pick.
yeah, he owes Mike Evans a lot of money because Mike Evans made him who he was at Texas A&M. I will go to my grave with that. Mike Evans is 100% the person who made Johnny Football.
Yeah.
It's true. Yeah. Yeah. You got
All
three
right,
guys ahead of Johnny Football. I know
Three
one for
three
sure.
guys. Yeah. Three guys who were bigger
Woo,
disappointments than Johnny Football.
Settle
I
in.
think I know who number one is on the list. I'm trying to think of the other two.
All right. So number 3, the 15th pick in the first round in 2016, Corey Coleman.
Oh, yes.
56 receptions against 131 targets in 2 years. Corey Coleman's problem, and it's not this simple. Trust me, there's a lot more going on with Corey Coleman, but his biggest problem was he developed Darius Hayward Bay syndrome, hands of stone. Balls doinked off of him left and right, and whether it was mental or what, he was not anywhere near the player he was in college. And unfortunately, the lasting impact that Corey Coleman has had on the Browns franchise is he was the last first-round wide receiver taken by this organization.
They got the case of the yips after that.
Yeah, and now the Browns refuse to take a wide receiver above the third round, right? So,
Corey Coleman would have had way more catches in his career if his hands wouldn't have gotten in the way.
Right.
True.
So anyway, he's the gift that keeps on giving. The fact that we'll probably never have a first round draft choice at wide receiver in Cleveland. I mean, we've only had 4 in the last 40 years. So
hey, give us a shot at Jeremiah Smith in 2 years, and
I would take that.
Break that rule.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, number 2. You guys will love this one. With the 8th pick in the first round in 2014, the Browns selected cornerback Justin Gilbert.
Oh, I thought he was number 1.
He have 3 starts, 3 career starts.
He has a compelling argument for number 1 for sure. That he was wow.
Yeah. 3 career starts, 0 motivation was my description of him. It was pretty sad to see a cornerback taken that high have that little impact. All right, drum roll, please. Number 1, the guy who had the most impact in a negative way on the Browns franchise in the last 25 seasons, Deshaun Watson.
All right, that's the easy one. That's the easy one.
Will the franchise ever recover is my question. Deshaun Watson's contract continues to plague the NFL. It's really sad.
See, I've already tried to wipe him from my memory banks. That's what I'm thinking. No.
So I'm putting up my top 10. Trust me, I had a real nice presentation between those 2 slides.
Looks great.
But so here's my top 10. Feel free to shoot holes in it at this point if you want, or maybe you can think of somebody worse. But like I said, I spent quite a few hours looking through draft picks and free agent signings, and couldn't come up with anybody else that I felt belonged on this list. If you throw out some other names, I'll probably be able to tell you that they're in my second 10.
Yeah, and I might have some honorable mentions like Kenny Britt. That was an awful experiment, failed. Man.
If you're talking free agents, I had a few others. Austin Hooper was a pretty big.
Hooper, yeah, I was going to say him too.
Yeah.
Jamie Collins was a major disappointment for me. He had 1 good season with us. Mm-hmm. Then he went back to New England and played like he always did.
The
other guy I had on here, and it was really weird, was the Browns took a long shot on Malik McDowell, and he looked like a world beater for about 6 games.
Oh,
then
yeah.
his head got in the way.
That
And
kid from
he,
Michigan State.
yeah,
Yep.
Yeah.
and then he
Yeah.
did a Devon Bess and ended up naked somewhere. Um,
Oh,
so anyway, yeah. So all in all, free agent wise, there's 5 on here plus those 3 more. The Browns have done pretty well on the free agent side, I think.
better
Not
than the
not a
draft.
huge amount of
Way
risk.
better than the draft.
Way better, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the draft, I've got a whole bunch more names. Sayaki Ika, Perion
Yeah.
Winfrey, Anthony Schwartz, Austin Corbett. I mean, Austin Corbett was a high second round pick.
Yeah.
And he was gone like after a year. Chad Thomas.
He ended up playing very well other places, for
Other places, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but not here.
Antonio Callaway, Deshaun Kaiser.
I got one for you. How about Jeff Garcia?
Yeah.
Doesn't look like the same guy here either. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, like you said earlier, Matt, there's a lot of names on that shirt, on the back of that jersey.
I still remember the game that Jeff Garcia threw the zero quarterback rating game.
Yeah, that's hard to do.
Yeah.
So Jeff, in my opinion, the top 4 on that list is almost undisputable, and beyond that, it's a little subjective as to who you want to put where.
Yes,
that's it. I mean, I think you absolutely nailed the top 4, and
yep.
Right.
if people want to move some of the other ones around or maybe mix a few other guys in, but I don't know how you can argue with the top 4.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you'll get no argument from me. I'm with you.
No, not a bit. So,
and I'd like to look at it from a different perspective. Maybe this is a list you could do in the future, but where has the Browns as an organization let us down as far as what they've done with the players? People like Terrell Pryor, of course,
right.
Nick Chubb, these kind of things where they've really let down players that could have been somebody. I think they've done that to quite a few players on this journey. The 26 years now that they've been in the league, back in the league. There have been some players that they just kind of let walk, or they didn't give them the shot that maybe they should have.
It's interesting you mentioned Terrell Pryor, because I actually looked at him and I thought maybe he belongs on that list, but by the time he got here, the expectations were a lot lower.
Right.
And he went out.
We got him for a bag of peanuts.
And he went out and all he did was put up a 1,100-yard season that 1 year. I mean, Josh Gordon was suspended or whatever. I mean, it was, he was our guy. Yeah. So, I mean, maybe we should have thought about re-signing him, but what did he do after that?
Or how can you not find somebody that's that athletic? You can't find a way to use him. I mean,
Right.
We look at Anthony Schwartz. That is the perfect example of why track guys don't play wide receiver. It's like, oh, you can run faster than everybody, just run down there. But when it's bouncing off your helmet, I mean, what good is that? But Terrell Pryor had that athleticism, and he could catch. He made some wicked catches. He was a guy that could make plays, and that's on the coaching of the NFL to not find that guy a role in your offense. I mean, that's as much as I hate the Ravens, as much as I hate the Harbaughs, but John Harbaugh making his offense around his quarterback, Lamar Jackson, that's what you do when you've got a talent that special. And these guys need to find a way to make those guys MVP caliber players. I mean, that's what good coaching does. And, some of them don't. They fall through. Anthony Schwartz fell through because he just couldn't catch the ball. But you get the ball in the hands of those guys and let them make plays on the football field. It doesn't matter. You let them do their thing. And
Yep.
it's always disappointing to me that, and that penalty that he got, that awful penalty against the Ravens, that taunting penalty out of bounds. I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
Guys, I've got two questions from X. And 2 weeks ago, I kind of forgot to get to a couple of these, and we kind of went long with our 300 show. So I want to make sure we get these in. Matthew Lubbock, follow him at Matthew Lubbock on X. His question is, which QB of the four gives the Browns the best shot to not only make the playoffs, but win their first division since 1989? Yes, 1989. This assumes no committee. The quarterback wins the job out of training camp and leads the team the entire season. I think I know who you're going to say, but what do you guys think?
This year, or gives us a chance in the future to do this? Because, man, that's a tough question.
Yeah.
This season, it's got to be Joe Flacco. Him staying healthy and playing the whole year, that's the only way I could see that happening.
That would be the caveat, was that he would have to be able to play 18 weeks, which I don't think is possible at 40 and a half or whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So even if Shedeur Sanders looked great and won the starting job week one, you guys don't think it's possible for him to win a division as a rookie?
No.
It'd be a tall
not as a rookie.
Yeah. No,
I can tell you there's no amount of money that I would put on it.
Well, no.
Right.
I mean, that's,
yeah.
You want to know what I really think? What do I put money on? That's not it.
Yeah.
I agree with you guys. It would be Joe Flacco for me too.
Yeah, maybe Kenny Pickett comes out of nowhere. You know, I don't know. I haven't seen anything from him.
He would have to eclipse Sam Darnold's performance last year for it to happen. Yeah.
And then this is from Susan. Follow her at Brownstown76. 3 running backs or 2 and 1 for injury. What's the scheme? How do you guys think they handle the running back room?
Always 3. Always 3. Yeah, always 3. That in today's NFL, yeah, you gotta keep those guys fresh. You know, after actually watching Judkins and Henderson last year and the way Ohio State used both of them and kept them fresh until we went into the playoffs, that always, I think Jerome Ford being our third down back and receiving back, I think, and he's probably going to be our returner this year, as far as I can see. You know, that's you're going to have all 3 guys contribute.
Yeah. Guys, got a few minutes?
Sure.
I was looking at one more thing, just out of curiosity. You know, I'm looking through stuff to talk about, and this was before, I talked to Jeff, and he was going to have a segment, so we won't take a lot of time on this, but and then we'll probably get on out of here. But I started thinking about Browns rookie records. And the Browns have a lot of rookies who might play, get significant playing time this season. So I started looking up, what's the Browns rookie rushing record, rookie receiving record, rookie passing record, and things like this.
Uh-huh.
And so I kind of thought I'd do it kind of like Jeff's Brain Boost and see if you guys had any recollection of who might hold some of these records. Because when I looked them up, I'm like, well, yeah. So I'll ask you guys for the rushing one, and then I'll give you the receiving one because it's just interesting. But do you know who holds the rookie rushing record for the Browns?
So this is all time, right? Not just post 99.
This is the most rushing yards in a season as a rookie for the Browns.
Have to be a guy who played a lot his rookie year.
Yeah.
I'll give you a clue. It's a pretty good sized number.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably Jim Brown. He holds most of those records, doesn't he?
Well, if you're guessing rushing in Cleveland, Jim Brown is always a good answer, Jeff. But
Yeah.
it's not the
Yeah.
answer to this one.
Okay.
Believe it or
Huh.
not, I'm sure his record was probably broken
Uh-huh.
because he played as a rookie. He played every game as a rookie. Jim Brown did. So
Yeah. Huh. Okay. I don't have a better guess, Rod.
okay, so we're gonna
No,
go
I-
back to 1985, and it's Kevin Mack.
Is it Kevin
Kevin
Mack? Wow.
Okay.
1,104 yards.
And he
Wow,
did that with
okay.
those humongous shoulder pads.
As big as
Yeah.
my screen, guys. As big as
Yeah.
you can, even bigger. I mean, yeah. Put
Huh.
one of me on each side of me, and that's about how big his shoulder pads were.
Yeah.
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 I go
So
back and watch
any-
those old highlights, and I watch those guys run around those pads, and I'm like,
It's
oof.
incredible. Yeah.
Even Barry Sanders squeezing through these tiny little holes with these giant shoulder pads. I'm like, how do
I
you do
mean,
it?
and Kevin Mack, you could park a car on top
Yeah,
of
those things are
one of those
huge.
shoulder pads, man. It's just huge. Okay, let's look at receiving records then for rookie. And any thoughts on who might hold this or who might? I've actually got the top 3 guys written down, so I'll give you guys just a minute to think about it, and then I'll give you a couple of clues.
Rookie receivers.
Yeah.
Braylon Edwards is probably one.
Braylon Edwards is not on the list. believe it or
Not on the top 3, huh?
No,
Okay.
not
Webster
top 3.
Slaughter.
No.
Okay, so it's not one of the 2 guys in the last 40 years.
No, this list has 1 Hall of Famer on it and 2 guys from the expansion era.
I've got
Who
a.
did it in the same season.
I think I've got an
Uh-oh.
idea of who one of them is, and his name is not coming to my mind right now. And if I describe him, will that count?
Sure.
Did
I'll
you
give you
wear,
half
Jeff
did,
credit.
knows who you're talking about.
did you wear
It'll
number
absolutely-
42?
Number 42?
Yes. Was he like old, like 1 bar face mask guy? Played for Ohio
No.
State and went. Okay. All right.
I
Then
don't
that
think
was my
so.
guess. Then.
I'm not sure who number 42 was.
Oh, it would have been back in the 70s, I think. I don't know why I can't remember his name right now. But
So the Hall of Famer is a guy we've talked about very recently, Jeff. Like on the last show.
Marion Motley, you count him as a receiver?
No. His name came up. It's Paul Warfield.
Warfield, that's who I was
Okay,
talking about.
Yeah. All right.
Number
Gee.
42, Paul Warfield, played for Ohio
Is he number
State.
42?
Yep.
Oh, well, it's okay.
All right.
Then yes.
Paul
The other 2
Warfield. All
guys
right, I
did
got
it
one.
in
I got one.
1999.
All right.
And
Either
Michael
of those 2.
Jackson.
1999 is Kevin Johnson
Okay.
and Derek Alexander.
Huh.
Oh yeah.
Michael Jackson
I-
must have been drafted like the next season after that, wasn't he? Or something.
I could have-
He's the-
Yeah. All
could've
those
guessed the
years
rest
kind
of
of
the
run
night.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that was tough. And
Kevin
you
Johnson,
guys
huh?
know you guys know who holds the rookie passing record.
Yeah, that's got to be Baker, right?
That's Baker in 2018, 3,725 yards and 27 touchdowns. So those are the rookie records.
All right.
All of them quite a bit higher than what I thought. I mean, I knew Baker's numbers were good.
Yeah.
Pretty high, but yeah, the other numbers caught me a little bit off guard.
So let's go back a second, Rod. What was the rookie rushing record total? How many yards?
1,104.
Okay.
It's a good year.
Kevin Mack.
That's a good year.
That's probably doable
That's in reach
this year.
That's possible if Judkins gets
Yeah.
the workhorse, type of load that
Right.
that you would think he might get.
Yeah.
It's definitely possible. And that's kind of what I started looking at this for is, do you guys have a shot at this?
Yeah.
Was that the year that Mack and Biner both got 1,000, or was that later?
I think that's the year they both had 1,000. I'm pretty sure because Biner Biner came in the season before.
That was 85.
Yeah, it was 85.
Yeah, 85 is when they both had 1,000.
Biner had like 1,004, 1,006.
Yeah,
just barely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a backfield, man. That was a backfield.
That's crazy.
Uh-huh. Marty Ball.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, guys. Well, guess we've been going a bit here. So, is there anything we missed? Any news?
Just my presentation.
yeah, we didn't get the glowing
presentation on the next podcast, Jeff. Just so everybody can see it. Just how cool that presentation is.
Yeah, at least get it out there so we get to see it.
Yeah,
that's right. So, okay, well let's get some closing thoughts, and then we'll get on out of here. So Matt, man, I sure hope it was worth the 6-year wait coming back on the podcast. It was great having you. Love talking to you, and we're gonna do it again a whole heck of a lot sooner than 6 years. Do you have any closing thoughts?
I appreciate you guys having me on. Like I was telling you, I think before we started, I don't follow the off season a whole lot. Like I used to. College football and pro, it was draft, it was, depth charts, it was recruiting in college football. I just followed it all. And then I was like, you know what? I just don't have the time for this. So, I'm glad we were able to put together a pretty good podcast, what I feel. So, without me being a super diehard off-season reading every article kind of person, I can't do it anymore. But, I really appreciate you guys having me on, and go Browns.
Absolutely. It's been great talking to you. Jeff.
And nice talking to you, Jeff, for the first time. I don't believe we've met, so I've seen you on the podcast. But
yeah, nice catching up to you, Matt. And I look forward to seeing the paneling wall after your wife lets you put all the gear up on it. Next time around. Yeah, and just again, I have to apologize for the technical crap. I mean, stick with us, folks. We'll get it ironed out eventually.
Yeah, you got to start somewhere, man.
Absolutely.
Unless you're a 7-year-old, apparently they can figure out every single technology that happens instantaneously.
Yeah. I have to have my grandson help me.
Well, yeah, I was going to say some of us don't have kids around the house much anymore, so we just got to do the best we can. So
right,
yeah. You got to start your own geek squad or whatever.
That's right. Well, we appreciate everybody hanging with us tonight and checking out the podcast. Be sure to check us out on YouTube and iTunes. Subscribe there, and obviously like. And if you want to come on, you don't have to wait for me to contact you. This is nothing against Matt whatsoever. I mean, just send me a DM or an email. We're always looking for guests. No experience necessary to come on the podcast. So,
hey, maybe one of these times I can get on like during the season when there's stuff going on. Because the other time I was like in between the seasons, and it was like, what are we talking about? So, yeah, maybe I'll get on during the season and we can talk about what they're actually doing.
Yeah,
right.
That's good and not good sometimes too.
Yeah.
Careful what you wish for.
That's right.
I've been a fan long enough. I know.
Loss, and it's not so much fun. But anyway, so this has been the Browns Blitz. We thank you all for listening, and we will catch you next time.